除了你，你闪一边去。
One down, 3 more to go, as our next best of 2 is going to be Soa versus KT. And this could be a spicy one, Tetra, because we just saw RPG play 1-1 against the Sunny Lions, which means RPG is creeping in on those points for Soa. As you said, only 1 point difference now between one of the teams that looked like one of the strongest in the league and RPG, who, despite never winning games, just also refused to go down. And as such, with draw after draw after draw, they are slowly but surely, getting to the middle of the table.
They're getting there, slowly creeping their way up. They are wild, they are unexpected, and they are currently 7th. But they are tied 7th/6th right now with KT. However, KT, like you said, about to play against Soa. And these two teams also very close, only a single point difference between the two teams.
True.
Last time they played each other, Soa were able to take the 2-0. However, if we go for previous days' games, Soa, they went 1-1 versus RPG, which is quite interesting to think about. KT, though, they threw some punches above their weight limit there, and they were able to take a 1-1 versus BTG.
Yeah, absolutely true. And, that is quite respectable indeed. Beyond the Game is still a team that I would consider to be one of the stronger ones in the league. So KT coming out swinging, as Tetris said, with Kaito. Despite being labeled as a flex player here, he's normally the main tank, whereas Zizm is an assassin player for the most part. So these icons here, these role icons are not 100% accurate, but that doesn't really confuse us too much. That team is here to stay. That team is here to take games.
Oh, there we go. He's alive.
Yeah. I noticed that about Licia. He always likes to have his, special rituals before a game starts. He would oftentimes close his eyes or just throw in a little meditation there to get his focus going.
Here we have Soa, one of the longest running teams in HGC China, with Faye and Uncle G, TY, Klong, and Sorry. Very long lasting players, especially Uncle G, who's been there since the start. As we see Kaito being highlighted as the key player here between both teams. Very reasonable here. 3 MVP votes already, despite being near the bottom of the table, bottom middle area. A lot of that's on Garrosh. His Diablo as well. It looks especially scary as we wait to see what the first map shall be. Once again, with Diablo being at the top of the priority, but not always it seems to be one of the best heroes for Kaito, but not one of the best priorities for him. His team doesn't seem to run into it as much, preferring instead to go for that Garrosh, as you saw highlighted. Here are the stat comparisons, though, and that tells a very reasonable story, with Soa being in the league much longer and being so close to going to that Eastern Clash last season. They have a solid 8.4 KDA compared to KT's 3.4. It's kind of sad, as KT are bringing us to the Infernal Shrines as our first map. For those wondering why I'm doing all the talking, Kendrick is answering the door, I believe, and he will interrupt me once he has returned. So, with Infernal Shrines being the first map, Garrosh can still gain very reasonable value here, as could the ETC, but also Sonya takes a huge priority on this map due to the amount of AoE damage she can do with the Whirlwind and the fact she can solo the objective. Welcome back.
All right, here I am. Sorry, guys. There was just a very important guest that I had to welcome, and that was the mailman. I was waiting for something very, very important. Anyways, I'm now back. Did I miss anything, Tetcher? What is our battleground? I think it's Infernal Shrines. I see the video here. Nice. And my poor weak gamer body, completely exhausted from rushing down the stairs to receive the parcel because the mailman was already on the retreat. Had to catch him. Had to gank him.
They do that, but the only thing you really miss is the fact that they, in terms of the KDA, which is like the immediate score I go to in general, KT had a 3.4, whereas Soa had an 8.4. So a 5 difference between the two teams. So although starting off very reasonably with Kaito being marked as the key player to watch in this map, they already begin banning him out and have removed the Garrosh.
Yeah, that of course makes a lot of sense, Garrosh. Have we actually seen him at all today? I don't think so. He was completely shut down in the first best of 2. So only Diablo making it through out of those 2 top-tier tanks. And I love it. I love the Medivh by Soa here. It's definitely one of their stronger setups, one of their stronger heroes. And here comes the VP. That has been Licia's speciality yesterday. In game number 2 and game number 1, he missed a couple of those, you know.
Yeah. He got most of them, but it's the one he missed that was the problem.
Yes.
But yeah, he's going for another round there, and they have the route to go underneath it, so that's going to be pretty good. We'll let you see the extra radius on the route from Mafurin for that reason. We see Greymane coming in. I would expect to see Diablo as well, seeing as Garrosh is already removed. Steal that away from Kaito as well. Would be
if you can find the Apocalypse button, then I totally agree with you, Tetcher.
I mean, I can't remember. I'm still learning. Like, that's one of my biggest shortcomings as a player. I still don't control and then the number my talents.
I still
actively click them.
I always click, you know. I would actually, like, I try to use control numbers to select my respective talents, but I would actually find myself misclicking way more frequently using the keybinds, you know, in a hectic, stressful situation than with my mouse.
You gotta learn it. It's a situation of you're gonna mess up a lot learning it, but it's worth learning. Like, I'm gonna start doing it like only in quick match and unranked and stuff like that for a while, and see if I can get used to it. That's my current plan, but I have yet to do that because, much like most self-improvement strategies I do, like exercise, I say to myself I'm going to do them and then don't. So, as we're going to see the second ban coming in, we've still got already removed. We still. With Sonya on the board, this will probably be a Malthael ban. That's usually what we see in that scenario. But with Zeratul already on the board, it actually becomes slightly less likely.
I would actually consider a Hanzo ban right now, alternatively a Diablo ban, depending on what they fear a little bit more. We've actually seen pretty sweet Hanzo combos with VPs as well, where the Dragon's Arrow would actually connect just in time with a VP expiring. So that is certainly a nice gimmick. But of course, the Apocalypse is a way safer way of setting up those combos. And as such, it doesn't really surprise me to see Soa go for yet another Strong Warrior ban.
Diablo banned out. Both the top tanks banned out by Soa, but they are second pick, so they're going to have to react to their opponent's tank choice. But there's no one who would really be like, okay, this is an instant tank pick. You can still ETC, you can still Muradin, you can still Johanna and something else. You still have plenty of options as Katie. Even go for a Stitches to prevent Soa getting that sneaky hook gorge combo that some teams like to go for.
That is interesting,
Not the best map for it, but it can happen.
Yeah, I would actually not hate it at all. I think Infernal Shrines is definitely one of the better maps for Stitches because of his wave clear. If you go slam build, then you can deal a tremendous amount of damage onto those shrine areas, and you can also damage the skeletons as well, which is actually the main idea behind it. So, yes, Stitches could definitely see play. I'm not sure if Soa ever played Stitches before. I know that CE did play a lot of Stitches, with Wind being an absolutely gorgeous Stitches player, landing most of the hooks. Now, here's something that I really like about Medivh, and that is the fact that he basically makes picking a different support other than Stukov and Mouth much more forgiving, because he adds bonus protection anyway, with the Leyline Seal keeping enemies at bay, with the Force of Will protecting targets very well as well. So now, all of a sudden, picking an Uther, picking a Rhaegar, even an Alexstrasza is much more forgiving.
Perhaps even a Karazim shall
I wouldn't hate it.
re-enter our fun here, as SBT did bring it out yesterday. It was able to 1v1 the Genji. That was fun. And Arthas and Rhaegar. Now, out of all the tanks they could have picked, I like Arthas the least, because it doesn't really affect anyone. It doesn't have immediate CC to deal with Zeratul. It has armor, which is nice, but you're against a Tychus. He just alters his build a bit to bring out the laser and just stick within the rhythm, and you are going to get yourself shredded. He's already in a good position, and yes, the only hero you're really going to affect is Varian, but he can actually adjust for this either by going with Lionheart to give himself the sustain that way, or even go for Victory Rush, which as long as minions near him die, the lower attack speed isn't going to affect his sustain at all.
So here's why I like Arthas on the other hand, to give a little bit of a counterweight to your opinion. I think what Arthas lacks the most is mobility, right? He doesn't have a gap closer, he doesn't have a power slide, he doesn't have a dwarf toss, no shadow charge, etc., etc. But what he does now have is a Medivh portal, so he can actually get behind the enemy lines much more quickly than before, while he also still provides excellent shrine control with the AoE slowing, the rooting capabilities. So I agree with you. I don't think Arthas is really in a good spot at the moment. There's other warriors who normally do better what he does. Unless you're facing Illidan's or other counters where he's so good. But with the Medivh, I think the whole dynamic changes quite tremendously. So I'm not hating it. I don't really feel that disgusted by seeing the Arthas picked here.
Well, I'm not disgusted by just seeing the Arthas straight up. And in fact, the comp he is with, he looks really good. It's the comp he's against I don't like. The fact what he's been picked into. His own comp is beautiful for an Arthas. It's wonderful. Lightning Shield, Force of Will, Portals. You're going to have a brilliant time. Executioner on Greymane is going to shred stuff. But he's going to get kited, he's going to get burned, and he is going to get out-rotated unless Medivh can be extremely efficient with those portals.
Yeah, I can definitely see your point there. Especially the Tychus, of course, can be quite the problem here if you manage to get this minigun value against Arthas going here. He's going to have a tough time. For now, though, guys, we're going to dive into game number 1 between KT and Soa, and they're going to introduce KT immediately here with Hope on the Lunara, Kaito plays Varian, TWT on Malfurion, and Licia on Zeratul again, and Zizim plays said Tychus.
And on the right-hand side, it is going to be start over again with Faye on Sonya, Uncle G playing on the Medivh, TY on the Rhaegar, Klong on Arthas, and Sorry is playing the Greymane. And say what is right, Kendrick, as we come out for our analysis bromance, we move straight into agreeing on confusion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we take a look at the hero distribution, the role swaps that took place overnight, it seems, and it is TY who used to be the team's go-to ranged assassin, now finding himself on that Rhaegar, on the support, and Uncle G once again swapped roles from the main support over to the specialist on Medivh here. So let's see how well they have practiced this setup, and only really Sorry now being the main assassin. This is going to be interesting to say the least. Soa, one of those teams that can always surprise you, that can always come up with something different, but I think if there's a pattern when it comes to role swaps and players going for different positions, it's that normally in China they tend to work rather well. We saw Sunny Lion, by the way, with Jaina earlier, switching over from ranged assassin to tank main during the season, so that worked pretty well for them. Why couldn't it work for Soa? I'm highly intrigued to see how well Uncle G and TY in particular are going to perform in this game.
As do I, but there is still a precedent actually set here in the past. Back when Uncle G was the flex player and not the support player, he did like to run the heroes like the Medivh. He likes those mobile heroes. I assume this particular role swap is because Medivh's back in the meta. This might not be a permanent thing. This might be a thing of when Medivh is available, I have Medivh. Otherwise, I will keep spamming that Uther, spamming that Stukov, etc.
Yeah, that could be a very legit point to talk about. When, you know, as we said, Medivh is such a special hero that oftentimes he completely just throws over a draft and he causes a whole new dynamic in it. Now Kaito needs to be careful, takes so much damage. Varian at level 1 is almost a baby. Level 2, sorry, still doesn't cause him to be very tanky. And as such, he ends up falling quite handsomely here. All that magic damage, by the way, coming in from Medivh, Sonya as well. Greymane as well. There's not really much he can do to run away from.
Not yet, anyway. He can go for Shield Wall later on, and he can go for Warbringer later on if he has an ally near him. That could also be a way to get out of that kind of scenario. However, needs to live to that level 10 without getting too far behind. As level 4 is hit first for Soa, not too far behind for KT though, a lot of that due to that first blood picked up by Soa.
Already giving them a nice boost, but here goes the charge immediately being applied onto Medivh. The boots just barely missing. That could have otherwise been a lot more damage onto Uncle G. Now Sonya, by the way, going for the self-sustained level 4. She gains charges and she can activate those for a nice amount of extra burst healing. Now she also went for the Warpaint at level 1, which is a nice self-sustained tool against heroes like Lunara. And Lunara is a very feisty one, a very interesting one we also have to talk about because she's not really played that often in other regions anymore. But here in China, yesterday we saw her almost work really well for KT when they played against Medivh. I think it was almost the exact same setup here with Medivh trying to counter him with all that long duration poke, poison damage. Let's see if it can work this time around. Lunara already circumventing and flanking the enemy team and spreading that poison like there was no tomorrow.
But Zizm is the one killed off first. That portal really effective at this early stage in the game, able to just jump straight onto Tychus, who does not have dash stacks yet, meaning he cannot kite this. Now to slow on to Kaitu, and you're seeing here the double spinning AoE, the spinning winds of Kaitu. But in the backline, Medivh killed off by Lycia, sneaky there. But Lycia, nowhere to go, no wormhole yet, does get killed off. That's going to be a 2-for-1. No 2-for-2. Because Arthas went down too.
Yeah, that was still mighty worth it though, in my opinion, because not only did KT get a couple of kills, which is really important, but also were they able to reset Medivh's stacks, so he's going to have to start over again, quite literally here, no puns intended. And Sonya falls victim to the roots as well. KT is unleashed and on fire right now.
They really are, and suddenly we're seeing KT looking pretty solid, but they need to hold this line. They are very far behind in terms of skeletons, 23 to 36. We can see Soa moving forward, looking for Kaitu. They go for the kills instead of the skeletons here. This could be the mistake, but down goes the Varian here. Lycia moves back around. They're looking for Medivh again, and
well played.
Does go down, but with Lunara and Varian down, this will be the first Punisher of the game going over to Soa.
This will be the Punisher for Soa, but once again, so many kills being taken for KT as well. They managed to maintain even experience here, and they shouldn't have any major difficulty to bait this over the wall. But here goes Klong, already with a flank onto Zizm. Can he land the Howling Blast? The dance to the side, well done by Zizm. Is he going to get to safety in time, though? The roots need to land right now on Arthas. They do land, but the cleanse is good as well. Klong just really makes it, but he's going to get taunted now, and he is going to fall. Arthas, know your limits, because you're going to end up falling otherwise.
Arthas entered into the tourist attraction, the Tunnel of Vision, as we see Sorry being forced through the portal, but the slows are not enough. Clutch save by Uncle G and T1.
Can we just say how good Licia is on Zeratul at this point, by the way? He was aiming his spike bombs the entire time so he would be able to chase after Medivh when the shields expired. Like, he was doing so much work, Licia, working from the shadows and always being there for his team to clean up the enemy team and just causing so much commotion.
I would argue that these two heroes in the top lane are two of the best melee flex players we have in the league right now.
Yep.
Fei has always been amazing, but Licia, he continues to impress. It used to be he was Dahaka one trick. Now he is just proving himself repeatedly on every single thing his team puts him on. Taunt used onto Arthas to stop him moving on to the point, and Arthas may even suffer here. Force of Will being used took so much damage, and every single time Arthas moves in, drops this low, think about the amount of in the rhythm stacks that Tychus is getting from this.
In the rhythm, of the minigun in general is just the bane of the Lich King right now. And put Lunara's damage on top of it. Arthas only has innate physical armor, but nothing protects him against abilities whatsoever. And guess what? Lunara's poison damage counts as exactly that. So with the minigun and the poison, Arthas is going to have a rough time. We basically talked about Arthas' role during the draft, right? We said that with his own team composition, he looked pretty well, but what the enemy team had would cause a couple of problems for him. Here goes the taunt being used against the Varian. The cleanse being used against the Varian taunt. So Greymane able to get to safety this time. Level 10 is here, but it is also going to be here for KT right now. Both teams facing each other on equal footing. Now, what can they do? The laser actually being picked. And Tetra, this is something I want to briefly touch upon here. We've been seeing how good in the rhythm was, stacking, right? Against that Arthas, constantly in the face of Tychus. Now, Tychus wants to maintain that minigun value against Arthas. And as such, he doesn't want to go for Odin because he would otherwise lose minigun. Odin can't use it. As such, he goes for the laser and manages to, consistently harass the front line even longer.
Yeah, I touched upon this in the draft. This is exactly what I wanted to see here, and I'm super happy about it. It also means that the laser, while Tychus is just focusing directly onto... Nice leaping strike. Hope is gone out of there. Portal is down, but he's already in a good position as they potentially turn around and look for nice cheeky pick up here, looking for Uncle G. Their Portal build does knock the spear, but the poison damage is still being dropped. Void Prison on the
roots.
Medivh target. Ancestral is really good, but the taunt is locking him down too much in the backline. Tychus finished off by Sorry, but Sorry maybe a bit off more than he can chew as that walk in form. But no, he's going to survive, and Zeratul does not. Zeratul also taken out, trying to dive into the backline, but gets punished.
Wait a minute, was that a 5 versus 4? That was a spectacular hold by Soa. Sonya, doing all of this, wasn't even participating. She was pushing with the fallen Shaman Camp. So this was the best case scenario for Team Soa, defending and deflecting a 5-man ambush and actually getting some kills on their end, while FaZe was doing what Sonya does best, split pushing with the Mercenary Camp. Fantastic job by them. And this is now a mighty good position for them.
Agreed, that was very impressive and very effective by them. However, they're back for more, except Zeratul. Zeratul getting a much longer route here because he spent a little time cleaning up the top lane, so they need to be careful. Lunara, though, starting to do that area damage. Lycia dropping some good damage onto FaZe. Force of Will, looking a bit of that damage over time, but Klon could have maybe used that a lot more. Polybomb does spread here. It spreads again. They're trying to time it well, but they're going in a little bit too early, just trying to get every second out of it, instead giving the enemy value. But they have positioning. Bounce it up in the mid lane, though. It's exactly what Soa do. They run to the fountain, except for Arthas, who did have to port. He was that low. Draken Laser Drill will be back exceedingly soon. They try to burn down Sonya, but the Force of Will blocks so much damage. Finally, she drops to half health, getting focused, leaping strike through the portal. Varian trying to chase the overkill from Tychus, but he eats a spear to the face. He is now focused down. There's the feral lunge there, but he gets out again. Zeratul not so lucky. The focus is good. Soa take the Punisher, and Kaito will likely fall here. The slow from Arthas just too good.
The 4-man Arcane Explosion onto Varian. There's no tank in the game that just walks away from that unharmed, and Varian certainly isn't nearly one of those if they would have actually existed. Anyways, so much damage with that Medivh. The saves also by the Rehgar every single time. We got to give major props to TY. Those cleanses have been game-saving, team-fight saving up to this point. Always making sure that the target that was focused by the Varian escaped in good health. And then, of course, Medivh doing his nasty business with the portals, with the shields now, Arcane Explosion, and Circle of Protection. It is going to be so hard for KT to really punch through that anymore.
KT trying to push into the, trying to de-push their lanes. Soa, they are looking exceedingly strong right now in this game with a talent lead, but not for long. 13 is very close for KT. They're just grabbing mercenaries. They're grabbing every objective on the map and looking to try and take down the last remaining fort of KT as well.
Yeah, here goes Medivh scouting the perimeter. Once again, he knows exactly what's going on in the defenses for Team KT. Now, keep in mind, Zeratul was spotted in the top lane, so if there was a moment for Soa to turn on the heat and maybe go for a fort dive, that would have been it. Now, Licia already on the rotation. Maybe he's going to try to lock some people down in the VP. Did he spot the mercenary camp attempt? Yes, he did, but the portal is too good.
Yeah, Lunara's gone for the unfair advantage, by the way, so she's hit a big power spike here. And that would not surprise me to see Tychus, even instead of going for the single target damage on his Q, maybe even going for the lead round, going for the extra slows to help Lunara out even more. Because right now, the only slows are actually coming in from Varian.
Yeah. Of course, Lunara can also rely on her own slows by proccing her W, but you're totally right. Normally, you want to go for unfair advantage when you have a hero like Jaina, like Arthas in your ranks, right? To really constantly benefit from the heavy poison damage. Now, look at Soa. They're going in deep with a bold move. They're stealing away the Merc camp on the side of Team KT. And guess why they can do that? Because Medivh is scouting the environment just so well. Knowing exactly when the enemy team is nearby, knowing exactly when they're trying to go for a gank while they're doing the mercenary camp. So Medivh, not only does he have actual team fighting competence, but he also provides so much vision control, which ultimately is so important for macro rotations and macro moves.
You see double Fallen Shaman pushing in here, putting so much pressure onto the lane. Here comes Sonya, onto Kaito though, onto the tank, exactly the person who they would want to be here as KT push forward, pushing away Team Soa, and the portal has to be used to get out of there, but it looks like Lycia is not done. If he can land that 3-man Void Prism on that big group of enemies, can't do it. They've just outrun him.
Yeah, that is normally the moment when you want to go for that Void Prism, right, Tetra? When the portal is just on cooldown, so there's not going to be any immediate saves after the portal gets triggered or after it expires. So that is a short time window in which Lycia on that Zeratul can get formidable value. Now, level 16 is here though, so the cooldown on those portals and the duration also has been increased, while the cooldown has been lowered, obviously. So that is a pretty comfortable position for the Medivh to be in. Quite the significant power level spike.
Both teams grouping as 5, and yet KT, they still look like they want to fight. They're just moving into here, despite the fact they are behind here. Lizard actually avoided the Arthur's route there by trying to kill the assaulting member of Faye, who was wrapping around from the other side. Lots of damage is done to Kaito. No dash is complete. That's such a huge deal for Lizard. It's going to allow him to kite so much better as they move in. Pressure onto Arthur's with the laser down in the different way. Ancestral onto Klong. This time the polybomb does not spread, and Zizz with the extra movement speed, very nice. The tranquility, huge amounts of healing. Void Prism on 2 members, that's good. Splitting the focus here as the leaping strike being used on a minion here, just giving Hope a better position. And the poison is getting value with Zeratul dying in the background, but look at the health bars, they're all a sickly green as we see Lunara slowly, very slowly treading through the members of KT, and even though they didn't get a kill, it looks like they are at least going to be able to drive back. They will get a kill. It's going to be close. It's going to be close.
Hope is just owning.
And they still keep going. Finally, they kill off Medivh, and his stacks are gone. Yeah, gone. It has that icon on it.
That was insane value by the Lunara, and she's not done just yet. But Soa, they are furious. They want to get this Punisher. Only 2 more. Only 1 more. Can they get it? Yes, but they lost Sonya in the process now. Can they cut their losses? Can they salvage the situation? They need to focus Hope. That Lunara is absolutely rending the backline of Team Soa, and it looks like Greymon is going to be the next one to fall. Now TY and Klong, they need to either hide behind Big Papa, Big Punisher here, or they actually need to retreat all together, because Lycia on the Zeratul, he gets revealed though, but he's already on the chase.
They still push in. They're not going to chase Klong though. Looks like they are finally done with this, and they will focus on cleaning up the Punisher. Soa, relentless, continuous assaults, but finally we start to see that value from Lunara coming in. These such consistent slows, the percentage damage. Tychus with Titan Grenade, not going for those extra slows, but just trusting his Lunara to be able to get her own work done, and just dropping even more percentage damage onto heroes like Arthas, like Sonya. And that seems to be what they want. They want those longer, more drawn-out fights, using Void Prism to divide and conquer. And so far, it's working for them.
Tetra, this was such an insane fight for KT. I can't even believe, like, any other team outside of China would have ignored this right now. They would have tried to get value in the middle or top lane, right? They would have tried to maybe distract the enemy team, but not in China and not for KT. They took this fight willingly, you know, relying on their own strengths, and they actually turned 16 because of the kills they got. And true, they lost the objective, but they're now on even talents again. And true, they're so behind the structures, but you know, with one good move in the late game, they can basically punch through a fort and a keep at the same time with longer death timers. So I wouldn't count them out just yet, but it is so admirable and refreshing to see how well the Lunara can actually do. And Hope, he has improved as a player so much, constantly out stutter snapping, out microing the opponents here coming in from Soa. So this is a very admirable hold for Team KT.
This was my concern at the start of the game, although Soa, the Arthas especially, doing much better than I thought. The biggest issue is he doesn't have that immediate lockdown, which means Lunara is left with free reign. The only reason Zeratul has died so much is because he's been doing his job, jumping into the backline and causing havoc. as they finally begin to move in once again.
Healing.
Even talents, almost even levels. Lasers down. Ancestral's very good, but the Tranquility is wonderful here. Laser zones at least a little bit. Two-man Void Prison. That's going to allow him to focus onto Sonya at least a little bit. 3 men in the Void Prison now, but Lycia gets deleted because a wonderful cleave. Huge amounts of damage being dropped, but Arthas has found them all in a choke point now. This is exactly where they don't want to be. Pulling back from Kaito is dropping everything he can, trying to survive. The shield wall is good.
No
He gets
way.
a lovely Lionheart to stay alive. And guess what happens now? It's a retreat. And who wins in the retreat? Hope does. Because you cannot retreat from Hope. As they are able to pick up the kill on Arthas.
Hope always dies last, and that seems to be the case quite literally here. Hope on that Lunara, he is wreaking absolute havoc, but look at that. Although KT is starting to win battles, the war seems to be going in favor of Soa. They were able to take down the keep. Are they even aware of the core? KT, hello? Are they just waiting for a Zero tool?
Everything will be in range of the core, so the core will take a little bit of damage, but it will clear itself up. They are very comfortable just letting that happen. So instead, they're turning around, focusing on Sonya. She has the portal out. Kaito is eating far too many fort shots here. They have to give up this fort.
Okay, so 8% of damage were dealt onto the core. Well, that is not really KT's downfall by any means. It was still quite frightening to see a double mercenary camp at the top lane joined by minions as well. And if Lycia hadn't respawned, I think that could have maybe dealt even more damage. As it is, though, KT is desperate. They're trying to open the map, because only if they open the map, they can hope to go for one of those counter pushes if they were to win another team fight by a large margin. Now, level 20 isn't here for KT yet, but guess what, guys? We're in China. That doesn't matter if you're 20 or not. KT is here to stay. They don't seem to be willing to let another Punisher go.
Spear to the face of Hope, and that's exactly what they needed, because if they could destroy Hope, they might have destroyed KT as they move forward. A lovely Storm Shield coming in from Rhaegar.
Run.
Alive there. The Ignore Pain tanking through Force of Will Portal, coming through the root from Valkyrie, and allows the rest of the members of KT to escape. But with no Hope, they cannot move on to this objective.
Yeah, KT has lost Hope here, and that is pretty bad. Without Lunara, they weren't able to even keep the enemy team at bay. The Polybomb spread here, by the way, the glyph of Polybomb at level 20 is so huge. It makes it so much harder to escape the range of it if you're going to spread those this sheepening disease like there was no tomorrow. Now Kaito securing the Merc camp. That is a small victory for them. He also seems to be able to get away. Sonya still at the shrine, and she unlocks yet another Punisher here. Now, how healthy is the mid lane still? I think it's in okay shape. The keep has not been touched just yet. Are there towers left? No. The tower line has been destroyed earlier already. So this is the keep for Soa if they don't misplay heavily. But is it the core? That is the big question mark.
KT have 20, Zeratul just soaked it. They have hope to defend this. The Polybomb does spread very nice. The Glyph Polybomb very effective in terms of actually getting that spread. But the keep will die. But the Punisher, he doesn't look like it. Unless they can get the kill here, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to end the game immediately. But Tiger's getting locked down. The Tranquility keeping him alive for the moment, though, in the backline. Lycia drops huge damage, but this is a familiar sight. He does get dropped here, but the damage output he was able to do in the meantime was good. Zizum has taken huge amounts of damage. The core slowly starting to drop here. Laser is dropped, and Zizum using that dash to outrun the Punisher as the core is going down. Lunara dropping crazy damage. Down goes Rhaegar. That's the healing god. As Faye and the Punisher, though, they will end the game. A valiant effort, but Soa take game number 1.
Yeah, kudos to KT for not bowing down, for not retreating, for never letting go despite being a talent tier down. Now, while I would say, guys, don't do this at home. Be smart about it, and don't do what China does, because they are normally better at team fighting than most of, Hero League team compositions. I still got to give kudos to them. They really salvaged these situations quite nicely, and although they weren't able to win the game altogether, they certainly made that Lunara look very strong. I think Lunara could be a hero that other teams are going to be looking at right now and going to be like, against Medivh, that seems like a hero worth practicing again. What do you think about that, Tetra?
It's the second time they brought it out, and the second time I completely agree with you and say they could have won that game.
Yes.
But they were just short. Both times I've seen the Lunara in the game brought out by KT, my reaction has been, wow, that was really good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how good it looks unless you win the game.
Exactly. If they had won the game, then they would have looked even better. And even Licia, although his VPs were good for the most part, always, isolating and splitting the team rather than going for kills and wombo combos, I think that he oftentimes has overstayed his welcome, right? He positioned himself into the VP, which is normally something you want to do if you go cleave build, to only, to deliver another cleave once the VP was gone. But guess what happened? Greymane in particular, he always jumped on Zeratul immediately with Go for a Throat, with his Worgen attacks, and they blew Zeratul to pieces within milliseconds. And that's basically what cost them a couple of team fights, right? Without Zeratul, you're fighting on your back foot, and it was just going downhill from there.
Well, Licia did get targeted quite a bit. He got some lovely setups, he got lovely cleaves, but unfortunately, the whole point of his composition was protect the Lunara, which means he got nothing because no one was in position to protect him because Lunara was the one doing the constant damage. Zeratul's job was to finish the job, but they never really got in a position to do that because if he didn't go in earlier, then they would never be in that position that they were able to potentially win the fight at all.
Yeah. And one thing, although KT lost that game, one thing they did do very, very successfully in that game was shutting down Medivh. I think until the end of the game, Medivh was not fully stacked because there were always those moments where he ended up dying in some way, shape, or form. So Uncle G being one of the stronger players in the league at that, proving to be that even Medivh, if played by a super good player, is not immortal. And especially that slow and ticking poison damage by Lunara proved to be quite the obstacle for Medivh. Now, the series isn't over yet. It's only a 1-0 lead, and KT still has the chance to tie the score, which would be very important for them if they didn't want to fall short with RPG, who were able to get a point earlier.